All right, let's look at a dihybrid cross problem. We've got the garden pea plant. Flower position, axial, is dominant to terminal. It's controlled by gene A. We've got another trait here, pod color. Green is dominant to yellow, controlled by gene G. We've got a plant that is homozygous for axial flower position, and homozygous for yellow pod color is crossed with a plant heterozygous for both traits. So let's get listing our alleles here. Always use the same process, alleles / traits. Let's see what we've got here. We've got flower position. And it can either be axial, big A, or it can be terminal, and you've got to have 2 little a's for the terminal flower position. The other is, what's the other trait? It's going to be pod color. And we've got green is dominant, big G. Question gives us this. Or yellow, little g. All right, after alleles, let's talk about our parents. Let's identify what our parents are. Looks like we are going to have homozygous for axial. Okay, big A, big A. Homozygous for axial and homozygous for yellow. Little g, little g. We're going to cross that with a plant that is heterozygous for both traits. Big A, big G, little g. Okay, Punnett square time. We're going to need to figure out what our alleles are. Let's leave some space up here for our Punnett square, though. Our gametes. The only possible gamete right here, big A, little g. What about this? How many different gametes can this create? Big A, big G. Big A, little g. Little a, big G. And finally, little a, little g. So this is a classic 4 potential different gametes. So we're going to need a Punnett square, just one on the side here, single gamete, and then 4 different gametes on the top. Big A, big G, big A, little g, little a, big G, and little a, little g. 4 possible offspring come out of this. Big A, big G, little g. So that one is axial, and it is green. Let's see what this one is. This is also definitely axial. Oh, but this one is not green. This one is yellow, axial and yellow. This one is definitely axial, and it is also green again, but it's heterozygous for both traits. Let's see what this last one is. Again, definitely axial. Oops. And yellow. All right, I've got the genotype. I've got the genotype up here. Let's put the phenotype underneath here. So this is going to be axial. So let's just write these out first. Axial and green. This one is axial and yellow. This one is axial and green. Okay, so 50% of the offspring. And this one is axial and yellow, and 50% of the offspring. Okay. So basically we've got 50% of the offspring have that phenotype, and 50% of the offspring have the axial in yellow. Let's look at now answering our question. We've done our alleles, traits, parents, and Punnett square. I'll put my answer, I guess, right here where I can fit it. And always go in this kind of a process. Go through this, then just reread the question, check what it's actually asking for. List the parents. Okay, well, it's pretty straightforward. P1 is going to be AAG, little g, so in other words, axial and yellow, crossed with heterozygous, little a, big A, little a, big G, little g. There's our P1. And the F1 offspring. All of our offspring. We're going to do our genotypes. I'll just write geno, T, and pheno. And that's axial green. Here's the other axial green. And lastly, these last two are both axial yellow. And axial green, and these are axial yellow. There we go. That's how to solve that problem. Okay, let's look at our next dihybrid cross problem. In fruit flies, long legs, big L, are dominant to short, little l. And long wings, big W, is dominant to vestigial, or short, wings. So we've got two flies that are heterozygous for both traits, so they're actually going to look like this. They're not going to look like this second fly down here, these two flies. They're going to produce 600 offspring. How many are expected to be short-legged and vestigial? Well, we're going to have to do a Punnett square, two-trait dihybrid cross. Let's get into that. Again, let's start with our alleles. Okay, we've got our long legs, big L. Short legs, small l. We've got our long wings, yep. Big W. And vestigial or short. Vestigial means not working. So they'd be really short, crumpled up wings. All right, let's talk about our parents. Heterozygous for both traits. So what's that going to be? Big L, little l. Big W, little w. What's the other parent? Same thing. Big L, big W, little w. Let's do our Punnett square before we answer the question, because this is going to help us answer the question. All right, we're going to need to make some gametes here. Let's do this with some different colors just so you can see this. There's going to be one set of gametes. Big L and big W. Big L, little w. Oops. There we go. Change my color. We got my little L, big W. And lastly, little l, little w. 4 possible gametes. For both of them, it's going to be a big Punnett square. Let's continue then. Let's get my marker. Put these on the top. We use this line here to help show us what is little w versus large W, or capital W, I should say. Don't think it's actually called a large W, so let's use proper terminology. Okay, same for potential gametes. You can start to see the pattern with all this stuff. And lastly, the 2 recessive. All right, I'm just going to power through this fairly quickly, combining these. And then we'll figure out our answer. Two little w's here, and big, little, oh, too little there. Oh, 2 little L's, but 2 big W's. Big W, little w. Almost done. You're going to want to be working ahead, pausing this actually, seeing if you get it right. Again, there's 2 little w's. Now, what does the question ask? How many are expected to be short-legged and vestigial? Well, there it is right there, the 1 in 16. Now, we actually have seen this before. Maybe you're realizing, did I really need to do all this? Because we did see this with pea plants, but it's still a good process to go through, and you should be very comfortable at this point in doing problems like this. So there is only 1 out of 16 that are going to have both recessive traits. That is both going to be short leg and vestigial wing. So we'll now do our answer. Just do a little math here. 1 out of 16, or put that into your calculator, 0.0625, or 6.25% of 600. So we're just going to need to do 0.625 times 600. And of course, we make sure the decimal is moved properly when we plug that in. You put that into a calculator. I think that you're going to see that let's just pause this and I'll get you that answer. So we get 37.5, which of course you don't have half of a fly, so that is going to be 38. Should have both recessive traits. As we can see, genetics is very powerful. We can do powerful predictions which will come true. Okay, let's see what we do next. Okay, we're going to look at something called an epistatic allele. So epistatic alleles, they control the expression of other genes. In fact, this is much more common in complex organisms like human beings. It's not really as simple in humans as it is with pea plants. So in this case, gene H controls the height in Singmar dogs, a type of Great Dane. Gene M at another gene on a different chromosome controls the expression of gene H. Okay, so we got a couple genes here. If M is homozygous recessive, the H allele produces tall. Homozygous recessive, so if we've got that, okay. If we've got that, then we'll have tall, and also, therefore, this would be tall. So kind of it allows the H to be expressed if that M is recessive. In any other instance, the dog is medium. We'll have to look at that. We're going to map that out and show you. There's a few examples of this. We want to know the probability of a tall dog offspring from a cross between a double heterozygous medium height female and a short male. Okay, let's do some work on this problem. Let's take a look at it. We've got the problem up here. Let's write out our alleles. All right, we have got height, one of our alleles or trait, big H, and we've got a control. The M controls or can control. In a case of little m, so if this is homozygous recessive right here, and that is going to be tall plus, again, homozygous recessive, this will also be tall. So just two types to get the tall dog. In any other instance, the dog is medium height. Let's just do what short is before we do the medium. So here's what short's going to be. Now, so therefore, in all of the other instances, so in other words, if we've got a big M, little m, that's another instance. And really, it doesn't matter what the H's are. These are all going to be medium height. So really, the H is basically shut off by this big M. Two little H's, don't matter. Big M, big M. Another version of it, big M, big M. I think those are all of them, right? Anyway, all of these would be medium. Doesn't really matter, actually, just wanted to lay it out there because we're going to look at our parents and offspring. We don't care about the medium for this particular question. Parents / offspring. Again, going through our same process always to solve a genetics problem. We want a tall offspring. Okay, so we either want this or this from a cross between a double heterozygous medium. Okay, so double heterozygous, pretty straightforward. And a short. Well, there's only one for short. This guy here is our short. All right, we're going to probably need a couple pages here on our Punnett square, but let's create our gametes. This is going to create 4 unique gametes. We'll do the first 2 here. And the last 2. Little m, big H, little m, little h. So those 4 gametes, well, how many possible gametes does this parent produce? Only one. All right, we'll look at our Punnett square next. All right, so yeah, let's finish this off here. Let's combine big M, little m, big H, little h, heterozygous. That's actually going to be a medium dog with a short dog. We've done our gametes on the other side. There's just one gamete here. Let's do these gametes up top. Four possible gametes. Four possible offspring. We want to know if we can get a short male out of any of these. We'll first write out the genotypes and then figure out if any of these are short males. In terms of short male, I think we've only got one possible. What's the probability? Sorry, we want a tall dog offspring. Which one of these are tall? It is right there. 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 are going to be tall. Okay, so after we do our Punnett, we can do our answer. 25% chance of having a tall offspring. Okay, let's see what we're going to learn next.